Goldeneye 007 for the Nintendo 64 is one of the most revered titles in gaming history. It is widely praised for pioneering an enjoyable first-person shooter experience on a video game console. This game was so influential in the evolution of console shooters that it is still talked about to this day. I've never played Goldeneye, nor have I seen the movie it's based on. So today, we're asking the question, does Goldeneye N64 live up to the hype? I'll be playing through the game and giving an objective analysis of it with absolutely no rose-tinted glasses, as I have zero nostalgia for this title. First things first, while I am attempting to get as close to the original experience as possible, there will be a few concessions made to make the process of recording this video much easier. Namely that I'll be playing the game on the Mupen 64 Plus emulator via RetroArch, and when researching USB N64 controllers, I decided to go with the Retro Fighters Brawler 64, as it's simply a modern take on the original controller. Also, while the original Nintendo 64 controller was made for people with 3 hands, I sadly only have 2. Regardless, I feel that using the Brawler 64 shouldn't drastically change my overall experience. So with all that in mind, and without further ado, let's play some Goldeneye. So starting off, we select our save file, which in a nice touch is represented by a file folder. In fact, all of this game's menus are very diegetic in that way, with the level select being a roll of film and every mission beginning with a dossier containing mission goals, some background about what's going on, as well as messages from 3 unseen characters, M, Q, and Moneypenny. M and Q often give you information that is vital to completing your mission, whereas Moneypenny usually sends you flirtatious messages. Alright, so we load into the first level and man, this looks cool. An awesome wide shot of the dam we will soon be infiltrating. And this cinematic flyover directly to our character along with this level's music is getting me pumped and... oh no. This feels so wrong. Now I knew the controls would feel strange to me since I'm used to modern first-person shooter control conventions, not to mention this controller only has 1 analog stick, but this really does feel extremely dated. Since a standard FPS control scheme had yet to be established, games of this era were just sort of winging it and doing as best they could. My first big issue is that the buttons for look up and down are inverted, and seeing as how I'm a human and not an airplane, let's pause the game and see if we can do something about that. And in pausing the game for the first time, I see something that I like a lot, and that is yet another diegetic menu. Bond's Spy Watch is the pause menu. That's so cool. Luckily, I can easily change the look inversion here, but as you will certainly see, I still have plenty of issues learning this control scheme. Alright, here we go. Let's get into our first combat, and okay, alright, where's my gun? Okay, I am just like a drunken toddler over here. Here it is, here we go, okay, alright, if I can just, yes, gotcha. Fortunately, this game utilizes really good auto-aim. I'm not used to that, and my first instinct is to try to aim at everything, but that just doesn't work. Whenever you try to aim, it feels like the controls are struggling against you. The game becomes infinitely more playable when you just let auto-aim do its thing and charge in guns blazing. The issue with aiming manually is that in order to aim, you must hold down the left or right shoulder button and move the analog stick to direct the reticle. Then when you let go of the stick, the reticle returns to the center of the screen, effectively making you fight against the stick to aim where you intend. While doing this, you're unable to move around, which isn't the worst thing, but still makes manually aiming less viable. Speaking of movement, let's talk about that for a second. By default, up and down on the analog stick is move forward and back, but left and right are turn left and right. Left and right on the C buttons strafe left and right, and up and down on the C buttons look up and down. However, by default, looking up and down is inverted. This breaks my brain and I die. I die a lot. When you die, you're treated to several different cinematic views of your death, which later on I found really made my deaths seem more fair because I could see where I got shot from. It's kind of like a more stylized predecessor to Call of Duty's kill cams, if you will. Killing an enemy makes them drop their weapon. Walking over a weapon picks it up and allows you to cycle to it using the A button or equip it from the pause menu. If you attack without a weapon equipped, you will perform a judo chop.
Judo chop!
The B button both reloads and interacts with things such as doors. Alright, getting back to the mission at hand. It takes me a long time to get used to the idea that auto-aim is the dominant method of play here, and I stop and aim at everyone. This makes the game feel so clunky and sluggish. At this point, I can't understand why people think this is such a good game. But I think to myself, either they're all wrong and just speaking from a nostalgically biased point of view, or I must not be playing the game as it was intended because of my preconceived notions of what a first-person shooter should feel like. Either way, I end up getting shot in the back. It took me 9 tries to beat the first mission. I tried changing my controller's sensitivity, which didn't help, and I eventually lowered the difficulty from 00 Agent to Secret Agent, but finally I did it. I completed level 1. And watching Bond jump from the top of the dam felt amazing. So naturally, I turned around and tried it again, this time exploring the whole level. Alright, so this time through, let's focus on level design and enemy behavior. The guards have a variety of idle animations and designated patrol routes, which paired with this truck that actively drives through nearly half of the level, really help make the area feel alive, as everything seems to have its purpose for being where it is. Nothing stands out as being thrown in for no reason. Level 1 has a good mix of short, medium, and long-range encounters, along with a nice variety of weapons to use in any of these situations. You're rewarded with a sniper rifle very early on in the level for exploring the top of the first guard tower. You can use it pretty much immediately to get the jump on the guards in the tunnel ahead, and later it will be very useful for a few long-range enemies. Enemies whose animations, might I add, are just phenomenal. Enemies in Goldeneye react differently and take different amounts of damage depending on where you shoot them. Shoot an enemy in the arm and he might stumble back and grab his injury. Shoot him in the head, however, and he's likely done for. This might not seem too out of the ordinary now, but at the time it was a major gameplay innovation, and it really does go a long way towards making the game feel more immersive. Anyway, I test to see if these barrels explode, and yes, they do. That's pretty cool. I was glad to see that explosive-looking things in the environment do indeed explode. What I didn't expect to see was that practically everything in the environment explodes. These boxes explode, and so do alarms. It's a little silly, but it does make the game feel more like you're playing an action movie. Seriously, who let Michael Bay into Rare Studios? Back in the action, we've got to take out this guard before he sounds the alarm. Otherwise, hordes of extra enemies will come to kill us. Shoot the alarm to take care of that for good, and we're moving right along. And in order to progress, we have to shoot the lock off this gate. This is great. Now we know that interaction with our environment is possible, and in some cases necessary, so we will be more likely to experiment with our environment in the future. This is a good bit of game design. Take out a couple more guards and security alarms, and we can end the mission, but not before eliminating a few more shipping containers just for fun. Not to mention there's an entire area inside the dam that's filled to the brim with enemies, which is optional on lower difficulties. This area is very close quarters and it provides a good contrast to the long-distance combat we've seen thus far. In all, it was a good introduction without too much hand-holding. The first mission did a good job of setting expectations for the majority of the game and introduced a lot of mechanics that would see more use later. Take your leap of faith and that's it. On to Mission 2. Mission 2 sees us infiltrating a chemical weapons facility below the dam. We enter through the air vents and take out several guards who are casually standing in bathroom stalls holding their assault rifles. And it's here I discover one of the game's most effective tactics, standing in the doorway and shooting everyone who comes along. See, when you fire an unsilenced weapon like the KF-7 Soviet rifle, nearby enemies will hear it and come to investigate. This can be used to draw enemies to your location, which can be very useful. After taking these guys out and judo chopping this guard for his security card, we can proceed to finding the double agent Dr. Doak, who gives us the decoder we need to open the door to our main objective. Once here, we are meant to rendezvous with Agent 006, otherwise known as Alec Trevelyan, blow up the chemical tanks, and book it out the door. However, just before we can do that, tons of enemies show up and hold 006 captive. He tells us to finish the mission, so we detonate the bombs we planted and run, leaving 006 behind. Now, this level went much more smoothly for me than the first one, however, I did make some mistakes. The first time I played through the level, I accidentally went through the door that ends the mission before detonating the bombs. This door isn't marked, so there wasn't really any way I could have known this prior to actually walking through it. The second time I blew up the tanks too early and caught 006 in the blast. Whoops, my bad. Sorry, Alec. And the third time I did everything right, except I was standing at this door that apparently spawns enemies, so I got swarmed and I died. Yeah, laugh it up, Mr. JPEG face. Mission 3 is a piece of cake and probably the shortest mission in the game. Steal the key to your getaway plane, shoot some dudes, and what's this? A tank? Hell yeah! Don't mind if I do. Drive down the runway and take out the turrets. Hop in the plane and mission complete. The next few missions take place 5 years later up in Siberia. You're given a sniper rifle and orders to infiltrate and investigate a Soviet Space Weapons Division base known as the Severnaya installation. Tactically remove some patrolmen, steal the installation's blueprints, and cut the power to their communications array. Now we can enter the base. But first, let's talk about the music. Each mission has its own track, and they're all excellent. The one for this mission is so ominous and tense, and I really don't think I've heard anything quite like it. This game's soundtrack is superb, and it makes every mission that much more enjoyable. This game just wouldn't be the same without it. Anyway, let's get back to infiltrating this base. At this point in the game, I'm really starting to get into it. The controls aren't bothering me much anymore, and the game is really starting to make me feel like Batman. James Bond. I know to look out for things in my environment like alarm bells, and the mission briefing told me to take out any security cameras I might come across. Sneaking around this base feels great, and I get some very satisfying kills. I'm thinking tactically, and even the manual aiming feels slightly more natural. Though it still doesn't feel great. Now we have to equip our camera directly from our inventory to take a picture of this command screen. Next, we bully this nerd into taking us to the mainframe terminal. He just casually walks over to the stairs and cowers, so I guess the terminal we need was the one he was at? You alright, dude? Well, hang in there, pal. We make a copy of the Goldeneye key and leave the original behind. A last couple guards and an alarm bell, and we're done here. Okay, so Mission 6 takes place 2 years later, and it's a timed mission. We have 7.5 minutes to complete our objectives and make it out before the satellite launch silo explodes. This mission is hectic. It's one of the most run-and-gun levels of the game, and it's a blast. You have so many enemies to kill, but you also have a bunch of civilian scientists who you have to be careful not to harm. Also, be sure to collect every keycard, piece of satellite circuitry, and telemetric data because you will not have time to backtrack if you get to the end of the level and realize you missed something. This mission is full of tight corridors, perfect for mowing down enemies, as well as a slight bit of verticality. However, the AI unfortunately doesn't seem to really know how to handle that. Work your way through the level and you will eventually come across some body armor. This will allow you to take a few more hits as you tank your way to the end of the level. This game doesn't have any traditional healing items, so if you've taken damage, you better hope you find one of these. Take a picture of one of the Goldeneye satellites, and so long as everything else has been collected, we're good to go. Power through the last few rooms of bad guys, and we make it out with 38 seconds to spare. Mission 7 takes place 2 years later in the game's present year of 1995. We are tasked with rescuing hostages aboard the French frigate Lafayette, disarming the bombs placed in the bridge and engine room, and placing a tracker on the stealth helicopter that criminal syndicate Janus plans to steal. Sounds like a good time, but this is where the game starts to get a little tedious. This mission has a lot of fail states, which, while not a big problem in itself, becomes quite an issue when some of the failures don't feel entirely fair. Sometimes you accidentally kill a hostage, and then you explode because you forgot that everything in this game is explosive. Sometimes you set the hostage free, and then you explode. And other times, you blow up the hostage by accidentally shooting the bomb you're supposed to defuse. And that's not all. If you press the interact button on the bombs you're supposed to defuse, they explode, even when you have the bomb diffuser equipped. How then are you supposed to defuse the bombs? Well, if you were paying attention to the mission briefing, Q says, be sure to use the bomb diffuser correctly. However, he doesn't tell you the correct way to use it. What you have to do is equip the bomb diffuser and use it by pressing the fire button. Because of course that's how you do it. How else? This frustrated me, but in the end I finished the mission. No hard feelings. For Mission 8, we've tracked the helicopter from the last mission back to Severnaya. This level is exactly the same as level 4, except at night. I don't have too much to say about this one, but I did discover that you can shoot grenades out of enemies' hands, which is pretty dang cool. All there is to do is take out their communications again, and blow up this troop transport helicopter. And now we can enter the base through the front door. But oh no, we've been captured. Who would have guessed going through the front door of the enemy base was a bad idea? And this brings us to the worst mission in the game. Mission 9, Bunker 2. It starts off just fine with us being trapped in a prison cell next to a woman who introduces herself as Natalia. She tells us that General Aramov has stolen the Goldeneye. She fears that both her and James Bond will be shot, but Bond has a cunning plan. The classic sick prisoner routine. The jailer doesn't buy it, however, and Natalia mocks us for trying that. You can try again by walking up to the jailer a second time, but he just tells us to shut up. On to Plan B. Luckily, Bond has a magnetic watch that he can use to get the cell key from the wall across the way. Then we can take out the jailer and free Natalia. Unfortunately, freeing her this early only serves as a major liability. She walks around and stands in the middle of gunfights like a lifeless doll, and you fail the mission if she dies, so it's best to avoid a needless escort mission and pick her up right before you leave the level. Though I must admit, I've never seen someone quite so unblinking in the face of danger. I mentioned before that this is the worst mission in the game. It really and truly is. I have 16.5 gigabytes of recordings of this level alone, totaling more than 2.5 hours in runtime. I died so many times I won't even bother counting. This level must be done in a very specific and hyper-stealthy manner. I didn't realize at first because up until now it hadn't been an issue, but if you fire an unsilenced weapon on this level, it will alert everyone in the base and they will come kill you in Legion. Even if you manage to stave them off for a time, it doesn't matter. The game will spawn elite commandos to ruin your day seemingly without end if you are heard so much as firing a weapon. The same goes for getting caught on security cameras. I tried over and over again to brute force my way through this mission, but it seems nearly impossible. So I tried the stealthy approach. This meant not using a gun and simply running around karate chopping dudes. I became a stealthy ninja assassin, and I even found a key to open the safe that contained my silenced pistols. Awesome. But then I turned a corner and sealed my fate by getting caught on a security camera. So I kept trying and eventually came up with the trick of leading enemies to doors and chopping them when they opened up. This works well because enemies can't shoot you if you're too close to them. Eventually, I actually did kill Natalia by accident, so from then on I left her in her cell. I kept dying time after time after time after time after time. So I thought to myself, there's gotta be a better way to do this. So I looked up a YouTube video of someone playing through this level on the hardest difficulty, and wouldn't you know it, they were playing the exact same way I was. I was utterly dismayed to find out that this is really the way you're supposed to play this level. But I did learn two very interesting facts from watching someone else complete the mission. Apparently, you can get away with firing 1 or 2 bullets at a time from an unsilenced weapon without alerting the enemy. You can also shoot through the small glass windows in the doors. I began using this to my advantage to take out the security cameras before they ever had the chance to see me, and this helped tremendously. Before I discovered this, I assumed that I had to sneak around the security camera in the room with the safe key, and then come back and take out the cameras with the silenced pistol. I also assumed I had to open the doors to the rooms with the cameras, which made it possible for them to see me and ruin my run. This is very difficult to do and led to me getting caught quite often. I got so fed up with this level that I stopped playing for like a week, and when I came back, I ended up doing it in only a few tries. Before we beat this one, I want to talk about one cool aspect of this level. Last time we were here, back in Mission 5, the base was still under construction. Now, 4 years have passed and the base is fully complete. They have a kitchen now. This is really cool. It makes the place feel a bit more real. So, after many more deaths, and countless karate chops, I become a martial arts master. No man can stand against my mighty chopping action. No one is spared the wrath of my stealthy strikes. Mwahahaha! All that remains in my way is one camera that is nearly impossible to avoid because the door to the room it's in doesn't have a window. That, and occasionally the guard with the key to this door, will seemingly not show up. This is a huge problem because there's a mission vital document in that room. So after a couple of really good yet ill-fated runs, I finally do it. I crouch at the side of this door and painstakingly line up my shot on this camera, being careful to only lean out into view for a fraction of a second so as not to be seen, and adjusting my aim while in cover. I take out the camera and move on to the room with the document. I systematically eliminate the guards posted there, retrieve the document, destroy the last security camera, and pick up a VHS copy of the Goldeneye movie while I'm at it. Then I swing by Natalia's cell where I hadn't yet initiated the interaction with her, which led to a very funny moment where Bond's cunning plan amounts to him opening her cell and the two of them casually walking out the front door. Thank goodness that level is over. If the rest of the game was like that, I don't know if I could take it. But thankfully, nothing in the game's quite so annoying as Mission 9. Mission 10 takes place at Statue Park, which seems to be a graveyard for Soviet monuments. This is by far the ugliest level in the game and shows the worst this game's graphics have to offer, with muddy textures and low render distances. This level design feels very low effort. Things just feel strewn about, which I guess is the point of a junkyard, but still, bleh. Anyway, we are here to meet with an ex-KGB agent named Valentine, who's hiding out in this shipping container. I actually missed him the first time I played this level, so nice hiding, buddy. He sets us up with a meeting with Janice over by the statue of Lenin, so we head over there and here's the twist. The leader of Janice Crime Syndicate is none other than Agent 006, Alec Trevelyan, who was presumed dead 9 years ago. He's apparently stolen the Goldeneye key and plans to use it against Britain in an act of revenge for something involving his family, I guess? I don't quite know what. But at any rate, he's captured Natalia and has her trapped in the stealth helicopter, and it's rigged to blow up in 3 minutes. So we have to go rescue her as Trevelyan makes his escape. We rescue Natalia just before the helicopter explodes, and we're promptly captured yet again by Russian military intelligence. That's just great. Mission 11 begins with us being interrogated. Suddenly, a guard shows up and says we're to be killed immediately. How rude. Also, in a beautiful work of cohesion, this wooden table explodes like everything else in the game. Alright, knowing what to expect this time, let's get the drop on them. And oh no. It seems that this level also uses the if you're heard firing a weapon, everyone on base piles in the room to take you down mechanic. So I guess they've left me no choice but to unleash the might of the judo chop. I didn't want to have to do this to you guys, but you've brought this on yourselves. And now your widows will surely weep every time a kung fu movie comes on the TV, because they will be reminded of your greatest folly and the dire consequences that befell you. Right. So we rescue Natalia and meet up with Mishkin, who recognizes that General Aramov is indeed a traitor. He gives us the helicopter's black box, which proves Janice's involvement in the Severnaya incident, and we bust out the library window. And I'm not sure if this is an emulation issue or a game issue, but bullet holes seem to stay in midair even after the window breaks. Oh well. Okay, so somehow Natalia has gotten herself captured again off-screen in the 5 minutes between missions 11 and 12? I can't believe it. Alright, where's my tank? It seems like Russians have been really bad about leaving these things around for people to steal even back in the 90s. Let's go get Natalia back again. I finished this mission first try, but then realized I still failed because I forgot to go find Valentine again. This guy must be #1 hide-and-go-seek player in all Soviet Union. He's actually hanging out in an abandoned building in this back alley. He gives us a lot of extra time to finish the mission, and so then all we have to do is drive down the street and avoid running over civilians. Okay, mission 13. We've got to get to the train where the bad guys are holding Natalia. But not before blowing up this weapons cache. Glorious. Then we've got to take down the enemy's mainframe, which is guarded by an auto turret. This gave me a bit of trouble, but luckily this is the first mission that gives us a rocket launcher. So using that, I make short work of the turret, blow up the mainframe, and find the stealth helicopter blueprints. Now we can hop on the train and head to the next level. Also at this point I should mention, I love these short end-of-level cinematics. They really show off Bond's personality, beyond guy who shoots stuff. On to the train level, mission 14. This one's pretty cool. In this mission you have to work your way from car to car, taking out enemies and the train's braking systems as you go. Oftentimes, enemies will have themselves locked in a passenger room and they'll only come out once you've walked by. Once you've learned where they spawn, however, it feels quite nice to be one step ahead of their game. This level also has a lot of doors, which really accentuates the problem with the B button serving the dual purpose of reloading and interacting. Oftentimes I found myself getting in firefights while standing in a doorway. I'll want to reload, but since I'm so close to a door, the game will assume I intend to open or close the door rather than reload my gun. So if this happens, what you have to do is take a step back from the doorway before attempting to manually reload. It's pretty frustrating. So at any rate, when you get to the end of the train, you find Trevelyan, Xenia, and Aramov, who's holding Natalia at gunpoint. If you don't kill Aramov quickly enough, he will kill Natalia, and this means restarting the whole mission. So the next time I got there, I made sure to eliminate Aramov as well as Xenia and Trevelyan for good measure. This is possible if you're very fast, and maybe you're wondering what happens to the rest of the game if you kill all the bad guys right now. Well, nothing. They come back as if nothing happened. Bummer. Anyway, in this run I forgot I had access to a laser watch and didn't put it together until it was too late to cut myself out of the escape hatch. So I blew up. That one's on me. The next time through I got started on that hatch immediately, got outside, and went towards the enemies assuming I had to kill them to finish the mission. This wasn't the case and Natalia died, so back to square one. It turns out when you get out of the train you're supposed to run away. So do that and the mission's over. They probably could have telegraphed that one a bit better. Alright, next up is Mission 15. It seems we've crashed our plane in the jungle and we're infiltrating Janus's base of operations. And this is the first level that starts without any music. Just crickets. Interesting. We work our way through the jungle, taking out bad guys and auto turrets, and this time around Natalia is actually helpful. She had weapons training and now she backs us up in fights rather than standing around doing nothing. She even exclaims when she gets a kill. That's a great character development. I'm so proud of her. Get to this bridge and the music kicks in. It's boss fight time. Xenia on a top runs to meet us and she's wielding both a P-90 submachine gun and a grenade launcher. That's pretty intimidating. We take cover behind some trees and keep our distance, however, and she goes down. And we end up on a top of this one. And with that, the music also cuts off again. That cricket sure is persistent. Now making our way into the base, the entrance is hidden inside this cave. I eliminate the guards and enter the cave system. This area is pretty neat. There are actually two different ways to approach this. Either by climbing directly up this ladder which leads you right into an auto turret, or taking the cave to the side and walking up the ramp. I take the path with the ramp at first, but end up finding too much resistance. So I go back to the ladder, take out the turret, the weapons cache behind it, as well as the turret guarding the other side. Now all that's left is to push through the last few guards who unfortunately just keep spawning. So you've really got to be aggressive here. I died a couple of times at this point because I assumed that eventually I would kill them all, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Head through the doors and it's on to Mission 16. This one starts with us listening to some very pleasant elevator music. The music changes when we leave the elevator, so that's pretty cute. Enjoy it while you can, because this is another level filled with very specific and annoying issues. First off, we step out of the elevator and there's an auto turret pointed right at us. I try to take it out from cover in the elevator, but the doors keep closing right as I line up my shot. So I say to hell with that, and I run out and take out a few guards. Alright, time to take out the turret. Easy peasy. Now we walk around the corner and you've gotta be kidding me, it's another turret. Okay, no problem, I'll just run up to the next spot of cover and... Oh, come on, a third auto turret? Really? Alright, I go through this bit quite a few times while trying to beat this mission, and it is just so tedious. I have to line up my shot while not looking at the turrets, then peek out and fire very rapidly so that I can hit them but they can't hit me, and they lock on almost instantly. It's like the cameras in Mission 9, except probably worse. It really takes me out of feeling like a super smooth operating spy, and it's just not fun. Once we've cleared the room, Natalia heads up to the terminal on this wall where she opens a door for us. We make our way through the base and come across our old friend Boris, the nerd. He pulls a gun on us, so we shoot him in the shoulder and he runs off. We open the door for Natalia, and now we have to defend her from an onslaught of enemies coming from multiple directions while she hacks the Goldeneye satellite to stop it from firing on London. There are too many enemies, however, and some make it past me and Natalia dies, so we've got to do all of that over again. This time, I shoot Boris before he even has a chance to pull his gun on me, but apparently this was the wrong thing to do, and Natalia abandons the mission because of it. Come on, Natalia, think of the greater good here. At this point, I'm sick of replaying the beginning of this mission, so I decided to save myself a ton of time and do something I probably should have done back on level 9. I start using the magical luxury of emulation: save states. Now I know this isn't part of the vanilla experience, but I don't care. I'm not going to waste my time replaying a part of the game that just isn't fun. So for the last time, I make it through the auto turrets and I save right before I meet Boris. This time, I wait to shoot him until after he's drawn his gun on me. But apparently killing him in general is enough to upset Natalia, so I reload, and this time he pulls his gun out, but he drops it, so he doesn't even get a chance to shoot me. No harm, no foul, I guess. Now, I made a mistake here in the order that I did things. See, when you get to this section where you have to defend Natalia, you'll most likely lose a lot of health. And I saved in the same save slot after she completed hacking the satellites, so I was down a lot of health. This wouldn't be too bad if all I had to do was escape the level. However, I forgot to blow up all the armored mainframes before beginning this objective, so I have to do that now. Not too big of a problem aside from this one mainframe being located in a room with a bunch of guards, as well as 2 more auto turrets. I died a lot here, but eventually I did succeed. First, I found this hidden room that contained some body armor. Then I tossed a grenade into the room to take out a few of the guards. It got tricky at this point, because since Natalia started hacking the satellites, guards have been endlessly spawning. So I don't have time to sit outside the door and line up a shot on the turrets, because I would only get shot in the back while trying to do it. So I have to sprint through the room and up the stairs and hope I don't die in the process. I can then take out the turrets from above and destroy the last mainframe. The only problem is that now I have just about 1 health bar remaining, so I have to play impeccably for the rest of the mission. I throw down a save state after every little win and cheese my way out the door. Then I get a couple more kills and run to the exit. Finally, that mission is over. We're getting close to the end at this point, going into mission 17, and luckily this one is a much more enjoyable level. It's got some neat music, tons of enemies, and the firepower to take them down. We've got to blow up the controls for these water pumps and make our way to the surface. These caverns are pretty cool, and this giant central room with a spiral ramp up to the upper levels is pretty awe-inspiring. After everything the last level threw at me, I'm enjoying the straightforward simplicity of this level. Sure, there's a couple turrets, but they're in much more manageable positions. I take out the second pump, and now all that's left to do is make it out. I get into some rough firefights, but luckily I make it out with an amazing 0 HP and 0 body armor. One more hit and I would have been done for. Seriously, an enemy could have thrown a spoon at me and I would have been toast. But I make it through the last room of enemies and on to technically the last mission of the main story. Mission 18, the final showdown. Our dossier informs us that Trevelyan is making one last-ditch effort to fire the Goldeneye before it falls out of orbit, and we are licensed to kill. Thank goodness. If we weren't, we might have a lot of explaining to do considering how many people we've killed throughout this game. So anyways, this mission takes place on top of Janus's antenna. which seems a little excessively big to talk to one satellite. But anyway, we have 3 minutes to destroy the control console and then settle the score with that 2-time and no-good Trevelyan. The control console is right in the middle of the antenna, guarded by 2 auto turrets, but it's easy enough to take care of. Trevelyan himself is a bit more of a chore. He runs away and waits to ambush you at certain locations. When you shoot him at one of these locations, he takes damage and does some monologuing. Deal enough damage and he'll lead you to the final arena. Whoever shoots first wins, and the winner is Bond, James Bond. Trevelyan falls to his death and you hop on your helicopter. Job well done. Roll the credits. This credit scene has a lot of charm. Each character gets their own credit before the real production team's credits roll, while we get to watch Bond and Natalia make out like action figures. After that, the pre-game credits roll once again, showing each character in action, and we get a great showcase of this game's graphics. The people look hilarious, as if you've taken a low-quality image and stretched it over a deformed cardboard box. But I've gotta say, this style did grow on me. Anyway, the game isn't really over. Sure, that's where the movie ends as far as I'm aware, but there's still 2 more missions. So Mission 19 takes place in an Aztec temple that's been converted by the Drax Corporation into a launch facility for their stolen NASA space shuttle. The first challenge of this mission is finding the door, which is hidden behind this unassuming wall. In the next room, we take out some guards and find what looks to be a shortcut, but I think I'll explore it later. For now, let's head into the next room. I shoot the floor to draw the guards to the door, so they're that much easier to eliminate. To my surprise, the aesthetics of the evil space launch facility mesh incredibly well with the ancient Aztec temple. I spend a while exploring this room and eventually find this control panel which opens yet another secret door. I make my way down the hall and enter what seems to be a conference room. However, the roof opens up and the table retracts into the floor. And above me is the space shuttle. We've been sent here to reprogram its navigation system so that we can recover it from the bad guys once it's in orbit. But first we have to find the shuttle's launch protocol. After exiting the ventilation system, we find ourselves in the main shuttle bay. And continuing on from here, we discover even more Aztec corridors. I love this. The level designers did a great job of mixing old and new in a way that makes this level feel pretty unique. Explore enough, and eventually we come across this mission's boss, and he is super aggressive. He can tank a ton of damage, and he kills me several times. He's even completely immune to my mighty judo chops. However, if you get close enough to him, he can't shoot you. So utilizing this technique and the power of the Moonraker laser, I get right up in his face and take him down. I explore a bit more in this area and find it leads to the section I thought may have been an alternate path earlier. Nothing else down here, so with the security card the boss dropped in hand, I head back towards the control room. First though, I have to close the exhaust bay doors to open the door in the conference room. Once in the control room, I use the keycard to open the door, grab the launch protocol, upload the guidance data, and then it's back to the shuttle bay to launch the rocket. Overall, Mission 19 was pretty great. This is one of the game's coolest levels in my opinion. There are so many hidden secrets and incredible set pieces. At this point, you can tell the development team was really getting in the zone. Now that the launch sequence has been initiated, all we have to do is open the exhaust bay doors and watch the fireworks. See you later, Space Cowboy. I would love to see more just like this. Let's see how the final mission stacks up. So, I ran into a little problem with Mission 20. Apparently, to unlock the last level of the game, you have to beat every other mission on 00 Agent difficulty. I wasn't aware of this from the start, so I only played through on Secret Agent difficulty. Which means if I wanted to play the last level, I was going to have to play through the entire game again. Fine. So I go back to Mission 1 and set my difficulty to 00 Agent and play through the whole game again. Just kidding. I used emulator cheats to set one of the other profiles as a fully completed file. Don't worry, I'll go back and beat it on the hardest difficulty next time I play through the game. But after having just finished everything else for the first time, I just wanted to wrap up this playthrough so I could make this video. Mission 20 is super atmospheric with a fantastic track that smoothly incorporates some great Middle Eastern sounds with the style that the game's composers have thus far established. The level design is great, with this mission taking place in an Egyptian tomb in the Valley of Kings. There are tons of hidden dangers in these beautiful corridors, and I'm loving this place. So we're here to find the Golden Gun under a challenge from a strange voodoo sorcerer named Baron Samedi. Samedi has placed the Golden Gun in a booby-trapped room, and we have to figure out how to get it. Only then can we defeat him. This is probably the biggest pain this level has to offer, because to get the Golden Gun you have to follow a very specific path on the floor of this room, or else the gun will be enclosed and 4 invulnerable auto turrets will be unleashed to kill you. The only thing to do at this point is to escape the room and circle back around and try again. To my knowledge, there's nothing that will help you figure out the path you need to take to get the gun, making this section completely trial and error. That's a really unnecessary pain, not to mention a missed opportunity to have the player find a map in their environment to solve this puzzle. Now that would have been interesting. Anyway, I end up finding the correct path to the gun, and now the cat and mouse game with Baron Samedi begins. The Golden Gun is the most powerful handgun in the game, and will kill any other enemy in one shot. Samedi, however, takes 3. Shoot him once and he'll fall down and disappear. Shoot him a second time and you think he's dead, but then the sky goes dark and you hear his classic evil laugh. I love the creepy atmosphere that this sets up. When I first shot Samedi, I thought, alright, I did it. That was a fun little bonus. Then, when it didn't end, and I heard that laugh, I was set on edge. I was like, oh man, where'd he go? In the final duel, Samedi is standing by the monolith using Moonraker lasers, and he can be deadly if you're not on guard. Once you take him down for the last time, this cutscene plays with Bond walking away triumphantly. Or so he thinks. Samedi can be seen laughing at Bond. It was all a game for him, so it seems. And with that, we've completed every mission of Goldeneye 007. There's one more thing I want to look at before I give my final thoughts on the game, and that is the game's many wacky cheat codes. These are normally unlocked by beating levels on certain difficulties extremely quickly, which is a really cool and rewarding way of doing this. I love the idea of earning your cheat codes. However, I've never been much for speedrunning, so again, I'll be using that completed profile to access all of the game's cheats. Maybe someday I'll go back and earn them on my other profile, but for now, let's have some fun. I turn on every non-redundant cheat and load into Bunker 2 to get some sweet, sweet revenge. This is the best. For some reason, activating all these cheats also glitched out the game's text, but no big deal, let's grab our magnet watch and break out of here. But first, let's say hi to Natalia. Hello Natalia, fine day we're having. You're looking lovely as ever. Why hello sir, would you like some paintballs? This level wasted so much of my time, and now I shall have retribution. With every weapon in the game and unlimited ammo at my disposal, defeating the hordes of big-headed monkey men is a joy. This is so goofy and fun, and I love it. I wish modern games would include wacky stuff like this as a reward for completing the game. Completing the game on the hardest difficulty also unlocks a secret 007 difficulty, which lets you customize things like enemy health, damage, accuracy, and reaction speed. This is awesome! Yet again, another worthwhile reward that increases the replay value of this game. They nailed it with this stuff. Goldeneye 007 was much more than I expected it to be. The soundtrack was absolutely superb, and the level design felt really good. If I had to pick a favorite mission, it would have to be Aztec. That level had everything from secrets to boss fights to timed segments. It pulled everything this game has to offer together into one package, and I really enjoyed it. The character design, while incredibly dated, still has a weird, uncanny charm, and it can be pretty comical. They did a good job of making the enemies feel like they had a reason for being in the level aside from just sitting around waiting to kill you. With the limitations they were working with at the time, I would have to say that they did a great job designing this game. Even with only one analog stick, they managed to make a completely playable first-person shooter. Sure, it took me some time to get used to, and yes, I absolutely prefer a modern control scheme to this, but after playing a while, it really didn't hold me back too much. If when aiming at something, the reticle stayed where you pointed it rather than returning to the center every time you let go of the stick, it would have been much more functional. There were also a few glaring design flaws in several of the levels, mainly in the middle portion of the game, that drove me crazy. However, for the most part, the game was quite enjoyable from a gameplay perspective. The story felt a little lacking considering the majority of it was told in the pre-mission briefings and short text box segments with absolutely no voice acting. I feel like you might get more out of the story if you've seen the movie the game is based on, so you know what? Hold on. Okay, so I just watched the movie and wow, that was good. It really brings a lot of context to some of the things that happened in the game. For instance, if I had watched the movie first, I would have known to run away from the train the first time. It also really clarifies a lot of Trevelyan's motivations. I definitely recommend watching the movie. It was a great Bond film. Some things were definitely a lot more impactful in the film, like the final battle between Bond and Trevelyan.
For England, James?
Also, I had no idea Trevelyan was played by Sean Bean. That's awesome. This game's story is definitely best when accompanied by the movie. I think you're in for a good time whether you see it before or after playing the game. After seeing the movie, I have even more appreciation for the game's soundtrack, as it takes mild inspiration from the movie and then pushes it to the next level. Goldeneye 007 couldn't be a better movie tie-in. I mean, it got me intrigued enough to watch the movie after all. So, to answer the question that I posed at the beginning of this video, does Goldeneye 007 live up to the hype? Yes, I believe it absolutely does. Despite some glaring issues and its baffling control scheme, Goldeneye 007 is still a very fun game in 2022, even for someone like me who has never played it before and has absolutely no nostalgia for it whatsoever. Speaking of nostalgia, I bet some of you may be wondering if I'll talk about the multiplayer. Nope. Nah, but seriously, I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. Maybe someday I'll get my friends together for some of that iconic local multiplayer action, and maybe I'll talk about it then. But for now, this is the end. If you've made it this far, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel. It'll really help this channel grow so I can keep making videos about stuff I'm interested in, and I hope you'll be along for the ride. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh yeah, also, comment or something. And scene.